Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
Every day I'm working on that case. Every day we're figuring something out. Every day we're talking to investigators. And that's essentially what Alex did on this case.
All right, let's move on now.
The courtroom drama surrounding Sean Diddy Combs took an unexpected and jaw-dropping turn when Tony Buzbee, the star attorney leading the charge against the music mogul, suddenly stepped down from the case. This came as a shock to many, given Buzbee's larger-than-life reputation and the high-profile nature of the case. How did this happen, and what does it mean for the victims who had placed their hopes in him? Buzbee had represented over 100...
And that's the sad part, because whether it's a real lawsuit or something that you're just shooting to see if you can get some money, you can sue anybody for anything. But the sad thing about it is if the person loses their suing, nothing happened.
Over 120 people, both men and women, who accused Diddy of mistreatment, ranging from abuse of power to other deeply troubling claims. He had been the face of the legal battle for over a year, generating headlines with bold statements and accusations. But just as the trial was approaching, the announcement came that Buzbee was withdrawing. What was behind this sudden change? It turned out to be a technicality no one saw coming. A federal judge overseeing the case revealed that Buzbee wasn't admitted to practice law in the Southern District of New York, the jurisdiction where the case was filed. A simple administrative oversight had turned into a full-blown crisis, with the judge demanding an explanation. Instead of fighting to remain on the case, Buzbee chose to step aside, expressing regret over the distraction his admission status had caused. He promised to fix the situation, but by then, the damage was done. The lawyer at the helm had left, and now the remaining legal team was left to pick up the pieces. Buzbee's departure was devastating for the victims, many of whom had trusted him to fight for them, believing he was the one attorney capable of standing up to someone as powerful as Diddy. Without him, they were left wondering if their voices would ever be heard. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team saw this as a golden opportunity, framing the withdrawal as a sign that the prosecution's case was weak and suggesting that the plaintiff's legal strategy was in disarray. They wasted no time in using this to their advantage, signaling a shift in momentum in favor of the defense. In the midst of all this, there were whispers about other possible charges related.
I think, like I said, for me, I was going to ask y'all what y'all predictions is. For me, if Jay-Z is successful at what he's doing right now, it's going to set a principle for a lot of these type of cases.
Related to the case. Could there be more revelations? It seemed likely, especially given the complexity of the situation. Diddy was still facing federal trafficking and racketeering charges, which could lead to a life sentence if convicted. As the trial date drew near, the legal landscape was in turmoil, but the drama didn't stop there. The ripple effects of Buzbee's exit were felt in other corners of the legal world, including in a separate case involving Jay-Z. At the heart of the controversy was the...
She hasn't sort of retracted the allegation she made against Diddy, but according to this, she never made them against Jay-Z without the prodding of Buzbee. This is a pretty devastating document if it's true.
It's interesting now because Jay-Z obviously is going after Tony Buzbee and could decimate him because Jay-Z does have a lot of money. They were right about that.
That's right.
Was the defamation lawsuit Jay-Z had filed against Buzbee, accusing the lawyer of maliciously tarnishing his reputation. Jay-Z's legal team claimed that Buzbee had fabricated stories in an attempt to force financial settlements, and they pointed to inconsistencies in the accuser's story as evidence of a smear campaign. This legal battle added another layer of complexity to the already tangled web of lawsuits and accusations surrounding both Jay-Z and Diddy. The timing of these cases, with both men facing serious allegations, couldn't have been worse for their reputations. Jay-Z's legal strategy seemed to focus on aggressively going after accusers and lawyers involved in the case, but this move carried significant risk. If new evidence emerged to support the claims against him, his proactive approach could backfire. For now, Jay-Z appeared confident, maintaining his innocence and focusing on clearing his name. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team
Not do this alone. Do you foresee that there could be other charges related to this case?
I'm not taking anything off the table.
No one wants him mentioned.
Diddy's legal team had been on the defensive, but the evidence against him was hard to ignore. Surveillance footage of a physical altercation between Diddy and his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura had become a key piece of evidence in the case, with Diddy's lawyers claiming the footage had been altered. Cassie's team dismissed these claims, expressing confidence that the video would hold up in court. And this was just one piece of...
A U.S. judge has ruled that the rapper and producer Sean Diddy Combs will stand trial on federal trafficking and racketeering charges in May. He'll be held in prison until then. Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges that he used his business empire to transport women and male workers across state lines to take part in recorded performances. If convicted, he could face a life sentence.
One piece of a much larger puzzle. Authorities had raided Diddy's properties, seizing items that could be used as evidence in the ongoing investigations. As the courtroom drama unfolded, the cases against both Diddy and Jay-Z began to intertwine, raising larger questions about power, influence, and accountability in the entertainment industry. The legal battles were about more than just two men. They were about the systems that allowed figures like Diddy and Jay-Z to wield such influence for so long. Could other powerful individuals be implicated as the investigations deepened? Speculation was already swirling. Diddy's former bodyguards and staff had reportedly been subpoenaed, and their testimonies could either support his defense or bolster the claims against him. In any case, the stakes were high for these witnesses, who could face legal risks or pressure to either protect their former employer or distance themselves from him entirely. The cases involving both Diddy and Jay-Z were quickly becoming more than just legal battles. They were public relations wars and tests of influence. Every new twist and turn added to the growing complexity of the situation, raising the stakes even higher. What will the final outcome be? Will Diddy's legal team be able to discredit the evidence against him? Will Jay-Z's defamation lawsuits deter future claims, or will they create more controversy? The months ahead will be critical, with the trial's potential.
So we've got actually some interesting stories. We're going to lead off with what's going on in that Jay-Z case, which we thought went away. We thought the woman who accused him of with Diddy after the VMAs, I believe back in 2000, had dismissed her case, and you thought it would just go away. It is not.
With the trials potentially having far-reaching consequences not just for these two moguls but for the entire entertainment industry. At the heart of it all are the accusers, many of whom have risked everything to speak out. Will their stories be heard, or will they be drowned out by the legal maneuvering of powerful defense teams? Stay tuned, as this saga continues to unfold with all eyes on the courtroom drama that could redefine the entertainment industry. The legal storm surrounding Sean Diddy Combs has now escalated into one of the most talked about and complex cases in recent history. It's not just about the charges against Diddy, it's also about the power dynamics at play in the entertainment world, where accusations of abuse and exploitation are now making their way into the courtroom.
Let's start with Jay-Z. So remember, the woman who sued as a Jane Doe dismissed her lawsuit with prejudice. She said, I will not be refiling this, but a dismissal with prejudice is just that. It's a document that says, I dismissed this lawsuit. It says nothing else. It doesn't say I lied about the claims. It doesn't say anything. It just says I dismissed the lawsuit.
Courtroom. This legal battle has gone beyond simple allegations. It's become a war between those who say they've been wronged and those who will do whatever it takes to maintain their towering influence in an industry that's known for being ruthless. One of the most stunning moments in this saga occurred when Tony Buzbee, the high-profile attorney leading the charge against Diddy, unexpectedly stepped down from the case. Buzbee, known for his aggressive legal tactics and his reputation for taking on some of the biggest names in entertainment, had been the face of this case for over a year. He was not just representing a handful of people but more than 120 individuals, men and women, all of whom had come forward to accuse Diddy of mistreatment and worse. When Buzbee withdrew from the case, it left everyone, investigators, plaintiffs, and even his own legal team, scrambling to make sense of what had just happened. According to court documents, the reason for his sudden departure was a technical oversight. It turned out that Buzbee wasn't admitted to practice law in the Southern District of New York, where the case had been filed.
It's interesting because, obviously this civil suit was coming for a while. Yep. And there was some talk between Buzbee and Jay-Z's lawyers. I think both Buzbee and Jay-Z's lawyers are really alphas.
Where the case had been filed. It seemed like such a small detail, yet it exploded into a full-blown crisis. The judge overseeing the case demanded an explanation from Buzbee, and despite the pressure, Buzbee chose not to fight to stay on the case. Instead, he admitted his error in judgment and stepped aside. In his letter to the court, Buzbee expressed regret for the distraction his admission status had caused and stressed that it had shifted attention away from the real issue, securing justice for the victims. But while he promised to correct the situation, his departure...
I believe that it opens yourself up to some negligence claims. Again, I don't know if Jay-Z is going to go that far, but certainly I think it does open himself up to some negligence claims. Maybe that was part of the reason why he dismissed with prejudice. I don't know.
Departure was already a done deal. His exit left a massive hole in the case. Without Buzbee's leadership, the entire prosecution team seemed unsteady, vulnerable. It was as if the pillar holding up the case had crumbled, and now the remaining lawyers had to somehow pick up the pieces and keep the case afloat. Diddy's legal team, always ready to exploit weaknesses in the prosecution's case, didn't waste any time. They seized the opportunity to frame Buzbee's departure as a sign of the case's instability. They even went as far as suggesting that Buzbee's exit indicated a lack of credibility for the entire legal strategy. The timing of Buzbee's withdrawal seemed too perfect for Diddy's defense team, who now saw a potential opening to dismantle the prosecution's case behind closed doors. Sources close to Diddy were reportedly jubilant. There was talk of how this moment might be the turning point, the point at which the balance of power shifted in favor of the defense. After months of relentless pressure, Diddy's team now had a breathing room to recalibrate their defense strategy.
She walked away, got no money.
Got nothing.
Over.
And Jay-Z celebrated that, the fact that...
We should say, and it was filed by the lawyer who has filed a slew of lawsuits.
Their defense strategy and perhaps even push for a settlement. For the victims who had been relying on Buzbee to bring their voices to the forefront, this was devastating. Many of them had come forward because they believed in his ability to fight for them. They trusted him to stand up to someone as powerful and influential as Diddy. Now, with Buzbee out of the picture, they were left wondering if their stories would ever see the light of day. The departure of such a high-profile attorney like Buzbee didn't just create confusion and uncertainty for the plaintiffs, it had broader implications that reverberated throughout the legal community. The question that kept lingering in the air was whether Buzbee's withdrawal was merely a clerical mistake, as he claimed, or if something larger was at play. Could there have been external pressure at work? Was there more to his decision to step aside than he was willing to admit? These questions fueled...
Now, this particular defense attorney's reason for quitting wasn't really a reason at all, making his departure a lot more puzzling.
These questions fueled even more intrigue in a case that already had the public's attention. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal woes were far from over. While Buzbee may have stepped out, the case against him was still moving forward, with a new set of challenges and allegations. Diddy faced multiple lawsuits, many of which accused him of using his business empire to facilitate human trafficking, racketeering, and worse. These were serious federal charges, and the potential penalties were steep. If convicted, Diddy could face life in prison. The investigation into Diddy's actions had already cast a long shadow over him, with authorities conducting raids on his properties and seizing potential evidence. There were even reports of surveillance footage showing what appeared to be a physical altercation between Diddy and his former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, which could prove to be a pivotal piece of evidence in the case. Diddy's legal team had already disputed the authenticity of this footage, claiming it was doctored. Yet, with all the evidence stacking up against him, it was hard to deny the mounting pressure on the music mogul. While Diddy fought to clear his name, Jay-Z found himself unexpectedly dragged into the saga. It all started when he was named as a defendant in a lawsuit that accused him of being involved in an incident with Diddy that allegedly took place decades ago. Jay-Z, who has always maintained his innocence, vehemently denied these claims. However, the mere mention of his name in connection to such accusations was enough to shake his camp to the core. What made this situation even more intriguing?
Okay, so last hour when we left off, you had asked me, did Tony Buzbee respond to Jay-Z?
Yes.
And he did. So he responded to...
Intriguing was the role Tony Buzbee had played in the case against Jay-Z as well. Before his exit from the Diddy case, Buzbee had been involved in a separate legal battle targeting Jay-Z, a situation that ultimately led to Jay-Z filing a defamation lawsuit against Buzbee. Jay-Z's legal team accused Buzbee of making reckless and malicious claims that tarnished his reputation. According to Jay-Z's lawyers, Buzbee wasn't interested in uncovering the truth. Instead, he was more concerned with creating headlines and gaining financial settlements. This fueled accusations that Buzbee was using the legal system for personal gain. Jay-Z's defamation lawsuit against Buzbee included private investigators' sworn statements and a variety of other legal maneuvers aimed at discrediting Buzbee's tactics. In their filings, Jay-Z's team argued that the allegations against him were fabricated to extort money, pointing out several inconsistencies in the accuser's story. They even produced evidence showing that Jay-Z wasn't even at the event where the alleged incident took place, further discrediting the claims. The intersection of these legal battles between Diddy, Jay-Z, and their respective teams has created a highly complex web of lawsuits, accusations, and counterclaims. And, as these battles continue to unfold, more high-profile names are getting pulled into the mix, from former associates of both men to business partners and enablers who could soon find themselves under scrutiny. Even corporate entities that have worked with Diddy and Jay-Z are being affected by this legal storm. Some have distanced themselves from the moguls, while others are waiting on the sidelines, eager to see how this drama unfolds. In the midst of all this chaos,
Buzbee is saying, I did that not because we want to shake you down, but because you tried to scare my client, so she wants to come out swinging too. She's not backing down.
In the midst of all this chaos, it's important to remember that this is not just about two high-profile figures. The broader implications of this case touch on issues of power, abuse, and the ways in which influential individuals can often evade accountability. With each passing day, the legal battle against Sean Diddy Combs has unfolded into one of the most consequential and widely discussed cases in entertainment history. This saga, involving accusations